Aren't they great? Sweet, look at that up there.
These are badass. All right, Rick, come on, man. Let's do this. Let's do this. Get situated however you want. So over there, we were talking about, whether college is important or not.
Yes.
And my story is I went to college for a year and a half. I went just to go.
Right.
I never really looked at college as something that was going to get me somewhere. It was something
Right.
my parents always said I needed to do.
Sure.
So I did it. But you've got a different path. But what I want to talk about is that you've been in roofing, real estate, mortgage, and now fashion, building a fashion brand.
Sure.
Do you think that college was required for you to be doing what you've done and what you're doing now, or could you have done it without college?
Absolutely required.
Absolutely required.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
Because let's say I've had my ups and my downs. When you're in your downs and you're looking for that next opportunity, I was always able to fall back in talking to people, investors, partners. I have an MBA in finance. It just gave me a higher level of respect. Also, I think the things I learned in college, both interpersonally and education in finance, I've gone back on when I really need them.
That's a good point because, when I was, I talked about, numbers don't lie, and I have this image that I throw up on Instagram, and it shows from 23, 24, 25, 26, all the way up to 32, broke.
Right.
During that time, I couldn't even get a job that had even a decent salary because I couldn't check that box.
Yeah.
Do you have a college degree?
It's like anything else, Sean. It ain't gonna hurt you.
What do you think?
College degree, MBA, PhD, 5 years experience, 10 years, these will all make you look stronger, especially when you need it.
What do you think it was about college, if you had to narrow it down to anything or a couple things or nothing? What do you think it is about college other than just having the certificate, which I agree
Right.
gives you some credibility?
Right.
What else about college and finishing, helped you in your future, relationships or anything, whatever?
Well, George Howick was my first professor that really inspired me to be an entrepreneur. If I had met George my sophomore year and he hadn't shown me the path to becoming an entrepreneur, remember, this is the 80s.
Right.
No one thought about becoming an entrepreneur. He actually had been very successful, a multimillionaire before he started to be a professor, and he showed me the light, which was you can do whatever you want in business. You don't have to follow the traditional path, accounting, law, sales, marketing. He's like, how about if you learn a little bit of all of them and you learn how to think like an entrepreneur? Way ahead of his time.
No, that makes. Now, are you still friends with any of the people in college, or?
I went back and spoke for George for 8 out of the 10 years after I graduated to his classroom to talk about all the lessons of having my own business. Hopefully I inspired a few of them to be like me.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So let me ask you this now. Now it's fast forward, it's 2017.
Is it? Holy shit.
Exactly.
I gotta get to work.
Dude, life is fucking flying by. Exactly. Life is flying, dude. So let's take it now. It's 2017.
Yeah.
I'm 18, 19 years old, getting out of high school.
Right.
I have no idea what I want to do with the rest of my life, but I know I want to be rich.
Sure.
I see all this crap on Instagram and Facebook that that working a job is the worst thing you could ever do.
Right.
Do I go to college or no?
Absolutely. Why would you not want to surround yourself with like-minded individuals that all have the same goal?
To party?
And get a degree. And you can do both. There's no limit.
What about,
especially if you don't know.
What about
when are you
coming
going
out
to
of debt $50,000 and then still not knowing what you're going to do, but now being $50,000 in debt?
Well, I would rather be $50,000 in debt and 4 years or maybe 5 years of being surrounded by people that are ultimately going to be more successful, because it is proven. On the average, a person with a college degree makes more than high school. On the average, a person with a master's degree makes more than an undergraduate degree. I'd rather be with all of those people in $50,000 in debt than have no debt and be 5 years older, surrounded by the same people I went to high school with none of them having a degree.
Can't argue with that shit. How about that? Okay, well, then let's talk about that. Okay, so, Mr. I just got an MBA, and now because of an MBA, I can go out there and do this.
I just didn't want to work.
How old were you?
Go all the way to the PhD if you can do it.
Damn straight.
College is fun.
I know a lot of people that are lifetime students.
Sean, you know how I sell college to non-college kids is? It's fun.
True. You complain about a job being boring, well, just stay in college.
College is fun.
Go get the whole
And
PhD.
if your college isn't fun, find another college.
Exactly. Well, then let's talk about that. So how old were you when you finished with your MBA? Because that's not one you get done at 22.
Yeah, believe it or not, I was 23 and a half.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so 24 years old, you're just getting your MBA.
Yeah.
Did you, and your professor says, think about being an entrepreneur. Did you go right into being an entrepreneur, or what job did you get? What did you do?
I think you have to work for people, especially good people, to learn the skill set before you start your own. So when I got out here, just like everyone else, new to California, broke, I needed money. I interviewed. I took a job selling advertising, but that sounds better than it was because it was door-to-door Yellow Page sales. And
Door to do what?
Yellow Pages. And it was a
Door-to-door Yellow Page ads.
almost no salary, straight commission, but it had the potential to make the most. And I knew if I could be one of the top reps, I could almost make 6 figures. And guess what? I crushed 6 figures. First year, rookie of the year, top rep. But I worked hard.
So let's talk about that because I know your story, but your story is hilarious about why you moved to California. All right. So tell the story of you get to college. How did you get to where you came and you moved to California?
Meaning, how did I physically get out here?
All of it. The whole story of what brought you here, what made you decide that California was where you were moving.
I first touched the West Coast when I was 17. I'd graduated high school. Me and my best friend decided we were going to put our thumbs out and hitchhike from Cleveland, Ohio. And so we went from Cleveland, we ended up in San Diego. It was 1984, the Olympics. I fell in love with the West Coast. But I knew that I wasn't going to stay here. I really wanted to go to college.
Right.
Went back, received my undergraduate degree in finance, and then I came out again for a summer to visit some friends with a girlfriend I was dating. And this time I came to Huntington Beach. Again, loved California. But I went back, received my MBA. The whole time I was getting it, I knew that I was going to move here. So I didn't even wait for ceremonies. Threw a couple things in a U-Haul. I had my cat, buddy of mine, John, and we drove across the country and ended up right here in Hermosa Beach, California, and we're still here.
Dude, that is awesome.
That was 1990.
That's called having a dream and following it right there, baby.
Not letting go of it.
Yes.
But every time you go back to Ohio, it was a really easy reminder that I wanted to be out here.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that are watching us right now that are from other countries.
Yeah.
And they have the dream of getting out of their small town. It doesn't matter what city or country you live in the world. When you grow up in a small town, some of us just have that itch that we are not meant to be in a small town.
Yeah.
And people say, well, how do you do it? You just do it.
Just do it.
You just don't even think about it.
I'd never been to California before I thought of coming here.
You just do it.
Just saw pictures.
Nike was so brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do
You
it.
gotta, at least try it. You can always go back.
Yeah.
You can always go back to your home. You can always go back to a different job. You can always go back for more education. But you can't always go forward. Matter of fact, most people, that's the hardest part, going forward.
Yeah.
It's easier. They just keep going back.
If
My
you try and-
suggestion is go all the way, man. Really screw it up. Make a huge mistake. Get broke. Get desperate. Cry. If you get to that point, you would know at least you went for it. And guess what? At that point, you'll know who you really are, and you'll know if you really want it.
Absolutely. There's a saying I see on Instagram, if you try and fail, at least you tried.
Exactly.
Because most
Yeah.
others won't.
Yes.
And that's what
it.
it's about. It's
Yeah.
like, people just, it still astonishes me that people will say, well, how did you do it?
Yeah.
And you, me, all of our friends, we just say, I didn't even have any other choice. I just did it. And how do you explain that to somebody that is saying, I'm trying to decide if I want to go for it in life?
Yeah.
Well, you just go for it.
Yeah.
They think there's some magic formula.
Now, what I think you also have to have a vision. I used to tell people, like, imagine your LinkedIn, right? 20 years from now. Is it going to be filled with excuses and things that you thought you should do but you never did, so it means it's a blank page? Or is it going to list all of these going for it moments, which turned into your life's resume? And if you picture your life's resume 20 years from now, every day, all you got to do is do what you do best. Go for it. Make it happen.
Yep.
By the way, 20 years from now, you're not going to list all the mistakes. All you're going to list is the victories.
Exactly.
Because my mistakes are longer than, and so are yours, Sean, right?
Exactly, absolutely.
I screwed up so much stuff. It's crazy. I'm
Yeah.
divorced. So did I screw up my marriage? No. It was a great marriage. It just didn't last longer than it lasted. But guess what? I would keep it on my life's resume.
Right.
Right? I've lost all my money twice. It wouldn't be on my last resume, but guess what? How I made it back afterwards, that's there.
Absolutely.
But if I hadn't lost it twice, I probably wouldn't have the success I have now.
Exactly. Absolutely.
I mean, you can't be afraid to go.
So okay, so now let's talk. So let's transition. Now you've got this job, making 6 figures, selling Yellow Page ads, and what's the next step?
Well, I didn't have a life dream to do door-to-door Yellow Page. It was how to make the most money.
Yes.
I met an entrepreneur who saw in me what I didn't even see in myself. And he asked me to join him to launch a roofing company.
How
He'd
did you
already
meet
had
him?
one. He was one of my customers.
So one of your customers approached you.
I think you'll find if you're doing a really good job, even if you're working the counter at a local grocery store, you'll know you're doing a really good job because people will try to hire you.
Boom.
If
Absolutely.
you're not getting offers to be hired, no matter what you're doing right now, I promise you, you need to do better.
Absolutely.
So he said, come join me. I see that
like
you
in a
can
new
do this."
business or to work for him?
He offered to help me start another roofing company and he'd be my partner.
Dude, that's awesome.
So he was going to be my mentor.
So you guys go into business in roofing,
Right.
And that was your first entrepreneur thing.
Yep. And he had been in business for 10
And
years.
how long have you been in roofing?
Him?
You.
None. I had zero experience.
Wait a second. You can start a business without having any experience?
You know what? You need a
That's
mentor.
possible in this world?
You need a mentor. And I had
Huh.
one.
Interesting. Interesting. You can start a business just like that.
You can. I just went for it. You know?
So he agreed to kind of be your mentor,
Yep.
be your trainer,
Yep.
and he would give you all the things that you needed to do, and he just required from you,
Yep.
you better be ready to work your ass off.
Yep. And you know, within less than 9 months, my brand new roofing company was doing more volume than his established company. And that's when he asked me to be his full partner in all of them. So then we partnered up in his company and we started to build it together.
Wow. So you have this new startup roofing company. How many years did you stay in that before you moved into real estate?
You know, it was about 6 years. 6 years in roofing. We went from 1 office to 7 offices around Southern California. And I ended up selling the first company I started.
Okay,
on
so
to the
while you're going
second.
through this, okay, so you're 26 now, about when you're getting into roofing?
Yeah, 26.
26, you're getting into roofing. A few years into it, you got all these locations. Let's talk about the real life of the entrepreneur.
Right.
Because now you're starting to make some money, I'll bet.
Right. Yes.
Where do you start spending your money?
I was the typical cheesy boy, man. Ohio boy. I got my first Ferrari. I got my first NSX. I got my first 37-foot speedboat. I got a Jeep painted pink. I was traveling all the time. Vegas was the second home.
Oh,
Let's just
man.
say I didn't save a lot.
So you went out there, you were young,
Right.
new to money,
Right. Right.
and you had no financial advisor per se,
Right.
other than how you looked at the balance of your checking account, probably.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how you gauged whether or not you wanted something.
Yeah.
You always had these childhood dreams of making a lot of money, so
Yes.
you committed the cardinal sin
Yeah.
and went out there and just
Spend it all.
blew it all and had fun.
Well, I bought a house, you know, so, you know, yeah, but, you know, yes, it was, I thought the money would just come every year bigger and bigger, and, you know, just like any entrepreneur, you have your good ones and have a couple
So how long
tougher
did
ones.
how long did that last? How long did the
I was-
upswing last?
You know, I was on.
Come on, no,
I did good.
don't give me the bullshit answer. Give me how long did the upswing last before it all dropped off the cliff?
The truth answer is I never went completely under negative, like to bankruptcy, the first time. I just had no cash left, and all I had left was a home.
Okay, so
So
you're
I
on the
didn't
way
lose
up.
my home.
You're on the way up.
Yeah.
You start to experience that the cash is drying up a little
Right.
bit. What's the first thing you do? Do
Well,
you sell something?
yeah,
Do you?
got rid of the Ferrari, got rid of everything slowly. Had to get rid of it all, and then ended up just in a, you know, just literally one residential real estate project, no money in the bank, and I might have owed $1 million.
Wow. You owed $1 million.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
could have been.
Damn.
Maybe more, I'm not sure.
So you go. So let me ask you this then, because this is something that a lot of people need to understand. There's so much in that.
Right.
First off, but let's talk about the emotion.
Right.
What is it like emotionally going from buying a Ferrari, a 36-foot speedboat, a killer ass house,
Right.
to then kind of slowly, because it doesn't happen in one day, right? It's how long was it from the top up here to when you finally got to here?
You
And I'm not
know?
saying here was I'm just saying, but when you were like,
when you're in it, you don't see it.
right.
It's just gonna keep coming.
But that's why it's cool that you can look back on
yeah,
it now,
and you
right?
it was so obvious to me. I mean, I'd stopped working hard. You know, I wasn't paying attention to what was important in life, and next thing you know, you're like, holy moly, I don't have any money. That's
So-
exactly. It
and
was
how
about
long
a
do you think that
2.5 years to get there.
2.5 years.
Fun 2.5 years though.
Hell yeah.
Maybe a
Oh,
little bit
yes.
longer.
Man, so 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the roofing company was gone.
Yeah.
How was the relationship with the guy?
Fine. It all ended.
So you guys,
I got out
because
okay.
I know you've always been
Yeah.
a man of your word.
Yeah.
You know, but at some
Everything's
point
great.
mistakes happen. And,
No, everything worked out great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get down here. So that's the first time.
Right. Then I had
So
to figure
then-
out. They figured a new way to make money.
Okay. So now you're back to even.
Right.
You're back to even.
Yeah. Well,
What kind of business do you go into after that?
you know, I
Or
was.
do you go get a job?
I was lucky.
Does your MBA
yeah.
come back into play?
Yeah, I actually did. I went and got a job and worked for a startup in the internet space selling advertising. Shocker. Back to
Right.
my roots.
Right.
And that was for 9 months. Built a heck of a team around me. But if this was the first internet boom where everybody was going to be a millionaire. Sound
Sure.
familiar? Like we're just going through one right now?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
maybe it just ended.
Right.
Learned a lot about internet advertising, all the space, but our product never worked. We had $0 of revenue. We raised 40 million over that time, and we burned it all. Luckily, I wasn't a principal, so that's not on me. I was
Right.
just an employee.
Right.
But they paid me well, and then I decided this wasn't for me, and I looked a way to really make real money again, and that's when the residential mortgage industry was, in its nascent stages. And I had another mentor, a guy named Steve Fishman, that I approached and said, "Will you teach me mortgage business? I want to start a company."
And so he became your next mentor.
Yep. And I sat in his office, listened, learned, till I, felt I knew enough, and then I went for it.
And then how long did you do that?
Did that really, and did that while I developed real estate up until middle of 2006.
So how many years was that?
That was about another 6.5
So
and
for
a half
6.5 years
Yeah.
you did the mortgages
Yeah.
again. And you did you become a millionaire again?
By 2001, in the middle, I was the #1 mortgage guy in the company. I was making a lot of money.
What's a lot? 100,000 back then?
No, about 50,000 a month.
50,000 a month.
Yeah, but I still
That's
spent
a pretty
lot.
that's a pretty decent amount of money. That's a pretty decent
Not
amount
every
of money.
month, but it was
But yeah,
good
yeah.
months. Yeah. No, it was a good time if you look back.
Oh, absolutely. So you
Mortgage, and
started
I was
spending
developing
again?
real estate. Yeah, I got married, and I got married. Traveled, had a bachelor party in Ibiza for 3 weeks. Normal things, right?
So you stayed focused on working.
Right.
You stayed focused on working.
Sometimes it has to happen 3 times to get it in your head.
Okay, so you did that for a few years, and then
Yeah.
what happened to that?
Yeah, well then, I got out of the mortgage business, and I took a couple of years off from middle of 06 to 08. Got divorced, had my kid.
So it was another
and
one of
all the
those
things.
type of periods.
Yeah, I just wasn't making any money, and the income stopped. And so I went back to, not above zero for sure. And I had what I thought was a nice amount of savings and equity in real estate, and then I launched this business.
That is called the life of an entrepreneur.
It was
right
pretty
there.
good. It was a good run.
That's
the second
the life
time I
of-
was actually pretty good, honestly, with the money. Not anything like the first time.
Right.
No Ferraris, no speedboats, but a lot more travel, a lot more lifestyle.
Experiences.
Right. I just wish, there's always the regrets, right? I did very well, but if I would have doubled or tripled my efforts during that boom, I'd be retired. It was the greatest real estate boom that ever happened in America. And for the people that really went for it, you've seen The Big Short, the guy that went for it afterwards.
Yeah.
They'll never work again. And
Yeah.
we live in a community where a lot of people went for it, and they'll never have to work again.
Amazing.
I was actually too conservative.
Well, let's what I want to talk about now is I want to talk about now you got done with the mortgage thing, you launch and start getting into Hammett, your current enterprise.
Sure.
And I want you to tell people what you're doing now, but I want to know, because everybody's watching here now wants to know how at this time, after having one meltdown, then having another quasi meltdown. How in the world did you convince somebody to invest close to $1 million in this enterprise?
Whew, good salesmanship.
So
Good
let's
salesmanship.
head over and let's talk about that. All right.